The Heavenly Demon. Can't Live a Normal Life. By Sanchin. Chapter 399. Aleksandr. Part 4. This world, the earth where humans dwelled, did not allow its residents to access other dimensions. This was a law set by the head of its pantheon of gods, and therefore, even if a portal to the Devildom were to open here, it would normally vanish immediately. However, the portal to Devildom Aleksandr had created was different. Although it was small and unstable, barely big enough to allow a living thing to pass through, it showed signs of becoming a permanent tear in the fabric of the mortal plane. Rumble. Magic spilled into their dimension. Aleksandr's aura swelled, bolstered by the energy pouring from the portal, and his eyes took on a sinister glint. My children, accept the blessing of darkness. Ga. Gruer. The dead, dragged back to the land of the living through the revive spell, let out guttural shrieks. Their bodies began to convulse and transform dramatically. One by one, what were once ordinary soldiers began to take on traits not unlike those of large monsters. The portal to Devildom was not yet perfect. That was why he had been waiting for the perfect moment to open it. However, even with it at a fraction of its power, the changes occurring in the earth were dramatic. Beyond this dimensional rift was the source of all darkness. Just the existence of the portal amplified the power of both the undead soldiers and Aleksandr exponentially. Roman Dmitri, I imagine you must pride yourself on being the strongest human being in the world. If I were someone governed by human standards, you might have been able to defeat me. But behold, having accepted the power of the Devildom, I have reached heights the likes of which a mere human like you can only dream of. Whoosh. Mana oozed from Aleksandr's form as his murderous intent grew, his magic fanning out in all directions. Therefore, kneel before this grim reality. Kayak. Gruer. The droves of undead bared their sharp fangs at Roman Dmitri and charged, swarming in large enough numbers to darken the land itself. It was truly a spectacle to behold. And as they surged in like a wave, Aleksandr spread his arms wide. Dark punishment. Boom. Rumble. Pure dark magic burst from Aleksandr's form as he drew in the mana from the portal to the Devildom and unleashed it in a powerful blast. Boom. 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 The air itself seemed to rip apart. The moment the undead around Roman pounced, Aleksandr's spell indiscriminately shredded everything in the vicinity, friend and foe alike. The hulking forms of Aleksandr's reanimated army were brutally hacked apart with incredible force. Yet, even then, they continued to throw themselves at Roman with what few body parts they had left. Cock. Flash. He cut down the dead soldiers attacking him one after another, easily slicing through their thick hides. As for Aleksandr's dark magic, he chose to face it head-on. Boom. Rumble. His aura exploded outward, the shockwave pushing the offending spell back. With a few efficient swings, he dispatched the undead in his path and charged at Aleksandr. He moved with the kind of speed that made onlookers doubt whether he was even human. With each blink of the eye, the distance between him and Aleksandr drastically decreased. However, the smile on Aleksandr's face remained unchanged and just as full of laughter. Yes, struggle until the very end. Whoosh. He clenched his fist. Dark magic swirled up at his command, transforming into thousands of sharp thorns that flew right at Roman Dmitri. Swish. 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 Clang. 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 It was a fierce exchange. Even with the attacks so fast and numerous that they were hard to follow with the naked eye, Roman Dmitri didn't allow a single one to land. But all the while, the undead threw themselves in the way of the path of the spell to attack him, unconcerned with their own safety. Their numbers seemed endless, no matter how many he cut down. Even when he unleashed the divine demon sword technique to clear entire swaths of their ranks in one blow, more undead simply rushed in to fill the gaps. That wasn't all. The undead were able to regenerate, even after being torn to pieces. As long as dark magic was pouring out of that portal to the Devildom, they would continue to reanimate and attack Roman. Kuahaha, how does it feel? This is just a glimpse of the future I envision. Foolish humans, accept reality. No matter how much you struggle, the fate of this world is already set in stone. Replicate. Swish. Aleksandr's form split. From 1 to 2 to 4, then 8, the number of Aleksandrs multiplied, eventually reaching a staggering 32. And then... hellfire. Flare. Whoosh. They simultaneously cast a spell. As all 32 Aleksandrs conjured hellfire, it felt like the world was being engulfed in the flames of hell itself. It was a terrifying sight. Even Roman Dmitri, who possessed fire resistance, wasn't sure he'd survive being swallowed up by a torrent of fire of this magnitude. Kayak. Croc. In unison, the undead surged forward and clung to him, trying to prevent him from dodging. Despite knowing they would be swallowed up by the flames along with him, they still clawed at him relentlessly. Finally. Boom. Whoosh. The flames rushed in. As he watched his hellfire consume Roman Dmitri, Aleksandr's smile grew 3 sizes with delight. In that split second before it landed, Roman Dmitri could have evaded the spell, but he didn't. As the fire came toward him, amplified exponentially by the dark magic pouring out of the portal, memories of his past life resurfaced in his mind. Thus, Roman Dmitri chose to let the flames engulf him. Boom. Whoosh. An intense heat washed over him. Even though he had reached the point of being impervious to both extreme heat and extreme cold, hellfire proved powerful enough to scorch his skin. However, physical pain didn't perturb Roman Dmitri in the slightest. Even as he was charred black, he pushed forward, trampling over the severed heads of the relentless undead, fully immersing himself in the memories. The moment I reached the heavenly stage was a lot like this. That day, Junghik Bek had had an epiphany. An overwhelming power, the likes of which no normal human being could withstand, surged through his veins, and his body cracked and crumbled as he became one with the world around him. In that instant, he felt death was imminent. Despite standing on countless battlefields and facing numerous crises, Junghik Bek had always managed to survive. However, the day he reached enlightenment, he thought he might actually die. Blood flowed from his eyes, ears, and nose, from every orifice. His skin melted and cracked, completely losing its human form. He dropped to his knees, burying his face in the ground, unable to even groan as pain racked his body. Despite the agony, however, he managed to accept the power as his own. The moment he became one with nature and advanced to the next level, Junghik Bek had felt a powerful rush of energy course through his entire being. Could Aleksandr ever have seen this coming? The flames, the dark magic. It all felt familiar. The heat of hellfire reminded him of the moment he became one with the world. And dark magic had a fundamentally similar essence to the power wielded by the demonic cult. In truth, referring to dark magic as dark was entirely a matter of social norms. Devildom didn't actually represent the power of darkness but rather the chaos that already existed in the world. These forces manifested in various ways and came to be grouped under the umbrella of dark magic. In that way, it was similar to the demonic cult's power. Although there were many differences between the two, the fact that they shared similar traits was enough for Roman. He accepted the magic as it came, entrusting his body to the inferno. This battle against Aleksandr. It was a fight so intense that the soldiers on the battlefield dared not approach. In their minds, even Roman wasn't guaranteed to survive against Aleksandr. Indeed, Aleksandr was strong. Yet, ridiculously, Roman chose to use a situation where his life was on the line to further his training. If he had pursued victory from the beginning, this fight would have ended ages ago. In person, he found that Aleksandr wasn't at a level that could truly pose a threat to him. Thus, Roman humored his opponent in the interest of prolonging their encounter. The flames climbed higher. Outside their range, Aleksandr, whose expression was brimming with joy, couldn't possibly anticipate the changes occurring within Roman Dmitri inside of the fire. And so, the seconds ticked by. The soldiers were sure they were witnessing their leader's death, and Aleksandr was certain of his victory. The violent blaze, and the fluctuating life force within it, led him to the faulty assumption that he had already won. Is it over? It ended up being a dull fight. As he sensed the life force within the flames fading, Aleksandr's smile faltered in disappointment. He had expected something more. If Roman Dmitri was indeed someone he had revered in his past life, he had hoped for more of a show, for something more exceptional. That way, defeating him would have been all the more satisfying. It would prove just how powerful he was now, and make the thrill of getting his hands on Roman Dmitri's techniques even greater. But in the end, it seemed the man was only human. Just as Aleksandr was about to reluctantly end his spell with that thought in mind, a figure emerged from the flames. Whoosh! Aleksandr's eyes went wide at the shocking sight of Roman Dmitri stepping out of the hellfire. He was completely engulfed in flames, yet his skin wasn't melting, nor was his hair even burning. It was surreal. Using Replicate to split his main body and unleash simultaneous hellfires resulted in a combination move that no one could hope to survive. However, as he watched Roman Dmitri walk out of the blaze as if nothing was wrong, his eyelids twitched. This was dangerous. Following the blaring of his instincts, Aleksandr hurriedly gathered his magic. But... flash. He couldn't even react. With a single flash, his head was once again sent flying. He didn't even sense a noticeable surge of aura. Yet, suddenly, his vision spun, and his head plopped to the ground. Thud. Well, what is this? Flustered, he immediately reabsorbed his head back into his main body. However, he found himself unable to retaliate. Right in front of him stood Roman Dmitri. Meeting Aleksandr's still regenerating eye, he spoke words that Aleksandr couldn't make sense of. Once I reached the heavenly stage, no one in the world could withstand my strike. Aleksandr, if you truly are immortal, then hold out for as long as you can. I intend to see firsthand how much of my power you can withstand. Swish. He shifted his stance, but the one he took wasn't anything special. First sequence of the divine ruling step. Divine Demon Sword Technique, first sequence, first form. The move was simple and concise. The very same technique he had used against even the common soldiers was unleashed with a swing of his blade. But in that moment, a completely different scene played out. Flash. The world didn't go white, nor was there a huge explosion. The moment Aleksandr registered something slashing through his skin. Grah. A sharp pain, as if his very soul was being cleaved in two, ripped through his body. Blood spurted from the wound, and Aleksandr fell to his knees. Ugh. Spurt. He coughed up blood, in utter disbelief. His body was nothing more than a shell. It should have died long ago, and was held together only by dark magic. As such, as long as dark mana remained in constant supply, Aleksandr should have been invincible. That was why he'd been able to walk away unharmed even after being decapitated. With the portal to Devildom he'd opened right behind him, he would have been comfortable declaring himself unbeatable. But... he coughed up thick, tar-black blood. At the sight of it dripping from his lips, Aleksandr looked up with trembling eyes. How? That strike just now had sliced through his very core. As both his body and his magic were torn apart, his body, sustained by pure darkness, was unable to keep up with and heal the damage. Roman Dmitri looked down at him coolly. So, this is your limit. Aleksandr had endured a single attack. In truth, that alone was enough to earn him recognition. However, he had merely survived the attack and showed no capacity to continue fighting. It was disappointing. Roman had hoped his opponent would be stronger than this. In his past life, when he reached the heavenly stage, there had been no one in the world able to challenge him. Aleksandr was at a loss for words. He couldn't wrap his mind around what was happening. When he first stepped foot on this battlefield, he hadn't imagined he would ever meet such a pathetic end. Aleksandr, there must be someone behind you, pulling the strings. The one who granted you your dark magic, who sits beyond that portal and covets the earth for themselves. I hope that person is strong enough to satisfy me. So, give me information about them. From the beginning, that was the only purpose you served. Whoosh. With that, he activated the art of the illusion demon. He seized control of Alexander's mind, wrestled Alexander's consciousness into submission, and absorbed his memories. As he peered into the abyss, Roman Dmitri peered into ages long past. It was a scene of total domination. His mind was seized with no regard for his autonomy. Overwhelmed by an insurmountable wave of powerlessness, Alexander stopped resisting entirely and surrendered his consciousness over to the one who sought it. Roman Dmitri, you were stronger than I ever could have imagined. So, take everything I have. Peer into the truth within my mind, and in return, grant me even a clue as to your true identity. He mustered his last bit of strength, and in the moment his mind was seized, he tried to read Roman Dmitri's memories. Just who was he? Alexander's intellect, the intellect of Pansyok Kim, who was nothing more than a fool, couldn't make sense of it. Rumble. The resistance of Roman Dmitri's mental barrier was formidable. Even though he had completely surrendered his mind and offered up his soul, accessing Roman Dmitri's memories proved to be an unachievable task. For starters, the man had far transcended human limits. With his thick mental barrier, it was impossible to subdue him with any kind of mind magic. Therefore, Alexander aimed for just one thing. Not anything too significant, but simply the name Roman Dmitri might have possessed in his past life. A piece of information that even Roman Dmitri wouldn't have bothered classifying as special. Alexander desperately clung to that last hope, almost pathetically. And in his mind, a name soon surfaced. The divine demon, Junghik Bek. Alexander's eyes went wide. Divine demon, the unbelievable name of an unbelievable man. A name the average person would never dare utter. Chapter 400. Alexander. Part 5. In Alexander's past life, back when he was still Pansyok Kim, his greatest pleasure had been enjoying a drink at the inn after a hard day's work. Did that really happen? Ha ha ha, I knew it. The inn was always bustling, and everyone inside was in a similar boat to Pansyok Kim. Folks who couldn't even dream of setting foot in their town's high-class brothel, the Blue Lotus Pavilion, gathered in groups, shooting the breeze about whatever came to mind. Pansyok Kim was one of them. As he exchanged light jokes with his friends and neighbors, his tanned face lit up when the words of a man known as the town's storyteller caught his attention. Have you heard of the airwalk step? Airwalk step? Yes, my friend. Those in the world of Murim can apparently walk on air itself and fly through the sky. It's truly an amazing sight. You know, that old lady Choi from the next village over apparently saw a Murim warrior soaring through the air. She was so startled that she thought it was the Grim Reaper coming for her, and she dropped dead on the spot. Humph, you're lying. Lying? It was the same old story as usual. People began to bicker and poke fun. Some dismissed the tale as nonsense, while the storyteller insisted it was true, his face red with passion. Pansyok Kim, sitting in a corner, smiled quietly to himself. There were many ridiculous stories about Murim, stories that made one question they were even human. Tales of a warrior capable of single-handedly slaughtering thousands of Murim soldiers, of someone able to start a fire with their bare hands, of a swordsman splitting a mountain with a single swing of their blade. These tales were met with disbelief but also sparked curiosity in the minds of all those who heard them. What kind of world is Murim? How can they do such incredible things? At that time, for Pansyok Kim, the Murim became an object of fascination. Whenever stories about them came up, he would stop and listen intently. And whenever he encountered some third-rate Murim warrior who claimed to be one of those incredible people he'd heard tell of, his sense of suspicion flew out the window. He would pour them a drink the same way one might offer up an arm and a leg, hoping to hear more of their stories. As time passed, he gathered more information about the Murim. They were real people. He didn't know how they learned martial arts, but it was clear they'd somehow managed to surpass human limits. Muram's warriors were idols, heroes. Panseok Kim looked up to them like they were the stars in the sky. Whenever he fell into a sweet sleep, he dreamed of becoming a Muram warrior himself and ruling the world. Then one day, the village was in an uproar. Rumors were spreading that the demonic cult, the Masters of the 100,000 Mountains, had launched a full-scale war. On that day, some warriors from the demonic cult came down from the mountains and cleared a path. No one knew what was happening. Like others, he was looking around to see what was going on when he heard shocking news from the storyteller. I told you before. The man leading the demonic cult now is said to be the strongest person to ever live. He has finally conquered Muram. He brought the righteous faction, chaotic faction, and even the outer faction to their knees. He's created a world ruled by the demonic cult. Conquered Muram. It was a momentous concept. Before he could even process that news, a group appeared to the enthusiastic cheers of the village's people. Ah! At that moment, he knew instinctively. The one at the forefront of the group, accepting the people's cheering as if it were natural, was the one the storyteller had always praised until he was blue in the face, the divine demon, the leader of the demonic cult. It was incredible to see him in the flesh. His heart pounded. Like the people around him, Panseok Kim bowed his head and shouted at the top of his lungs. We welcome the divine demon's return. May all demons kneel before him. We welcome the divine demon's return. May all demons kneel before him. They all praised the divine demon, welcoming him back. As the procession passed right in front of him, Panseok Kim mustered up the courage to look up at the divine demon's face. In that instant, a shiver ran down his spine. The divine demon, whom he had only ever seen in his wildest daydreams, exuded an overwhelmingly powerful aura. The divine demon Jung-Hik Baek. The indisputable ruler of the demonic cult. Panseok Kim thought he would never forget that face, the way it looked looking down on the world. His heart pounded. Any breaths he tried to suck in were shallow. The moment Aleksandr heard the name Jung-Hik Baek in Roman Dimitri's memories, he was so overwhelmed that he dissociated from reality entirely. Roman Dimitri was divine demon Jung-Hik Baek? He was in shock. Just a moment ago, in the face of Roman Dimitri's immense power, Aleksandr had considered various figures from the demonic cult. I heard that divine demon Jung-Hik Baek had followers in the demonic cult named the Heavenly Guardians, he'd thought. Could he be the reincarnation of the demon of lunacy, who single-handedly held back Muram's righteous faction without conceding an inch? Or is he the reincarnation of the blood demon, known for killing the most warriors? If not, could he be the reincarnation of the sword demon, who displayed the best swordsmanship after the divine demon? The Heavenly Guardians were figures the storyteller had often spoken of, practically spitting with excitement. Aleksandr didn't remember much about the world of the Muram warriors, but he'd lived under the jurisdiction of the demonic cult, so he knew their names well enough. However, there was one option he hadn't even entertained, the possibility of Roman being the divine demon himself. To Aleksandr, to Panseok Kim, divine demon Jung-Hik Baek was akin to a god. The storyteller told me once that the divine demon was beyond mortal comprehension. He conquered Muram with overwhelming force, something even the previous divine demons had repeatedly failed to do. I lived in the world he ruled. And at that time I was genuinely proud to be a citizen under Jung-Hik Baek. It was mind-bending. Jung-Hik Baek had been the perfect leader. He may not have had the warmest or friendliest reputation, but thanks to his incredible power and clear, fair laws, he granted the humans living under him dignity. Maybe that was why the people in his village always praised Jung-Hik Baek whenever they gathered. Aleksandr, too, had raised his glass to him, often saying that it was thanks to him that they could live the lives they did. That was why he couldn't even dare to imagine it. For someone like himself to oppose divine demon Jung-Hik Baek was an unthinkable act, even in his wildest dreams. Ah! His body went limp, his mind shutting down in denial. When he thought about it, some parts still didn't make sense. He and the divine demon Jung-Hik Baek had been contemporaries, but Roman Dimitri and himself were not. Aleksandr had been alive for eons, transcending the human lifespan. There was a vast gap of time between his arrival and Roman's, long enough for mountains and rivers to change and shift many times over. What in the world was going on? In an otherwise incomprehensible situation, the only thing he knew for sure was that he had been defeated. Isn't that only natural, though? If the man before him truly was the divine demon Junghik, conqueror of Murim, Aleksandr felt like he could finally let go of his denial and come to terms with his shocking defeat. While Aleksandr was reeling, Roman Dmitri was busy reading his opponent's memories. Delving into the abyss, he leafed through the contents of Alexander's mind, starting from the present and working his way backward to the past, looking for anything useful. Then, suddenly, one memory in particular demanded his full attention. He found himself in Alexander's body, bowing his head as an overwhelming aura bore down on him from above. My demon king, the chaos caused by Roman Dmitri is growing day by day. The woman from the Luna Kingdom is also desperately trying to seal the dimensional rift. Please give me your orders. What do you wish me to do? Power rolled off of the demon king of the Devildom in waves. It seemed Aleksandr had at some point projected his consciousness to the Devildom. Without daring to look up at the demon king, he awaited his command. From above, he heard a raspy voice. What I desire is the unification of the earth and the Devildom. In order for the beings of the Devildom to properly establish themselves on earth, the barrier between our dimensions must be broken. Aleksandr, my servant, a rift has begun to form because of you, but that is not enough. Carry out the slaughter we've planned. Plunge the world into chaos with blood and death. The more Earth's people suffer, the more the barrier between our dimensions will gradually lose its power. I shall follow your command. This world and its people didn't know the truth. They didn't know who was really behind Kronos, or what Aleksandr's true purpose in conquering the continent was. It all came back to Devildom. He wanted to embrace that world as his own and bring it to Earth. Then, once darkness covered the planet and the Demon King took his proper place as its supreme ruler, Aleksandr would live an eternal life and wield infinite power. That was the pact he'd made with the Demon King. From the moment he took the throne as Emperor Aleksandr, the demon had been whispering in his ear, promising a glorious future far ahead. It was for that reason that the Kronos Empire was waging war. With the truth about the Valhalla Empire revealed, they were forced to move up their timeline and begin earlier than planned. Flicker. The scene changed. The next memories were incomplete, their details lost to time. They appeared in fragments, showing Roman flashes of Aleksandr's life as he delved further into the past. Aleksandr had the power to conquer the continent a long time ago. But what he really sought was not mere conquest, but the unification of the Devildom and Earth. That's why he had to wait for the right time, until the barrier between dimensions was sufficiently weakened. The moment the boundary between the Devildom and Earth collapses, there will be no refuge left for humans who refuse to fall in line and follow the Demon King. With this, he'd confirmed Aleksandr's true purpose. He was truly a despicable human being. The moment he bumped up against his human limits, he eagerly grasped the hand extended to him by the Demon King for his own selfish gain. Despite being lauded as the inventor of Aura, despite being the ruler of an empire, he refused to be satisfied with his current life. According to Mother Elf, Aleksandr was the source of the rift between dimensions. Cracks in the boundary began when he crossed over to Earth and took possession of his new body. Rather than having any interest in Aleksandr in particular, the Demon King likely just needed him as a tool to expand the rift. Roman could plainly see that the relationship between the two was off, but it seemed Aleksandr was too blinded by the promise of eternal life to notice it. The memories continued, and then finally... Flicker. He reached the tail end of Aleksandr's past life. The moment Pansiok Kim, while climbing a mountain, was swept away by a dimensional rift. A moment that was very familiar to Roman. This place, he knew this place. In his past life, Junghik often sought out new places to train. On that day, he'd settled on a mountain to meditate on his martial arts. It started off easy enough. But as he sorted through his recent insights, a dam seemed to break, a flood of realizations bursting forth. Suddenly, Jung-Heek advanced to a new level. The heavenly stage. He became one with nature at the cost of immense pain, engaging in a life-or-death struggle with himself for several days and nights. At that point, he was barely conscious, having faced death multiple times. This was a level that no previous divine demon had ever reached. With no one to guide him, Jung-Heek had to forge his own path. He wasn't sure how much time had passed, but at some point, through the haze of unfamiliar pain, Jung-Heek Baek faintly sensed someone approaching the place where he was training. It was an ordinary human with no trace of martial arts ability in their blood. Jung-Heek Baek got the sense that it must have taken them 3 or 4 hours to get here. He pushed them from his mind. Whoever they were, it didn't matter. Jung-Heek Baek instead focused on himself. He entered a state of selflessness, fully embracing the world around him. The transformation began. His body was reconstructed, metamorphosizing over and over. And when a powerful wave of energy crashed through his mind, he knew for sure that he had reached a new level. That was when it happened. Whoosh. Rumble. The world beneath him shook. Roman Dmitri watched as a powerful shockwave surged from Jung-Heek's body, tearing open a rift. As the unassuming human he'd sensed earlier was swept away in the blast. That was when it hit Roman. Aleksandr only exists because of me. When he'd achieved godhood, the person caught up in the aftermath had crossed the boundary between dimensions. And in the new world he found himself in, he'd gained the name Aleksandr. Slide. He removed his hand and looked down at Aleksandr. What a tangled web. At the time, Jung-Heek Baek had thought an innocent human being had died because of him. After figuring out the person's identity, he made sure to give ample compensation to his surviving family. Even though it was unintentional, an innocent person had suffered as a result of his actions. Jung-Heek couldn't just let that go. But that same human went on to become Aleksandr. Time was a strange thing in the space between dimensions. While he continued to live out his days as Jung-Heek Baek, Aleksandr had been busy shaping his new world to his liking. Is this also fate? There was no such thing as coincidence. Aleksandr only existed because of him. The life he lived as Roman Dmitri had many similarities to the life he lived as Jung-Heek Baek, to the point of déjà vu. The body he now inhabited was uniquely suited for rapid progress. And with all this in mind, he naturally came to stand in the way of Aleksandr's plans. This was clearly orchestrated. From the start, him taking possession of Roman Dmitri's body had been no coincidence. Swish. He released his grip on Aleksandr's mind. Aleksandr swayed. With difficulty, he peeled open his eyes and looked up, only to find Roman looking down at him with cool indifference. You were once my people. The words landed like a sucker punch, rattling Aleksandr to the very core. Chapter 401. Aleksandr. Part 6. At the words my people, something rippled through his mind. Despite knowing he shouldn't, Aleksandr couldn't help but cautiously ask, Are you truly the divine demon, Jung-Heek Baek? Yes. Huh. The last of his strength drained from his body. This war wasn't over yet. Now was not the time to give up, but to gather what little mana he had left and counterattack. But Aleksandr couldn't. The divine demon, Jung-Heek Baek. The fact that he had dared to confront a godlike man like him made Aleksandr cover his face in anguish. I was truly nothing more than an ant. All this time, he'd had countless opportunities to put the pieces together. But even after seeing Roman Dmitri fight firsthand, Aleksandr had failed to recognize the true nature of his martial arts. Pathetic. He'd listened to the storyteller's tales of the divine demon with childlike wonder, yet when faced with the divine demon himself, he'd been a blind man, unable to see what was right under his nose. Leader of the righteous faction, a high-ranking member of the demonic cult. He had deemed his own ridiculous speculations plausible, further proving just how insignificant he was. He knew it too. This was his limit. If he hadn't been born into this new life as Aleksandr, he would have lived and died an ordinary life, just like in his past life. talent could not remain hidden for long. There was a reason why Panseok Kim had lived as an ordinary man while Jung-Hik Baek commanded the world. Armed with that knowledge, he grew greedy. He constantly craved more, tormented by a gnawing hunger, fearing that the wealth and glory he amassed could slip through his fingers like sand at any time. His insatiability in his new life stemmed from his past life. If he had been content with his position as emperor and his title of inventor of aura, the Demon King's whispers would never have been able to sway him. He looked up. As he stood there under the clear blue sky, Roman Dimitri's presence was overwhelming. Perhaps I wanted to become like the divine demon, Jung-Hik Baek. This life. He'd wanted it to be different from his past life. Just as Jung-Hik Baek accepted the people's cheers as his due, he wanted to do the same, to be like him. He thought that maybe, just maybe, he could create a life for himself he'd only ever imagined in this new world. At least, that was the delusion he'd been under back when he used to be known as Aleksandr, inventor of aura, swinging his sword until his hands were stained with blood. The divine demon, Jung-Hik Baek. That was what he represented to Aleksandr. He was someone he fantasized about being, the object of his admiration. What he truly desired was not mere continental conquest, but to bring the world to its knees with nothing more than his blade, just like Jung-Hik Baek had. His mind was in turmoil. Lost, all Aleksandr could do was stare up at Roman Dimitri, unable to utter a single word. Could I still devote myself to the person I admired, even now? No. It was already too late. His soul belonged to the Demon King, and he had committed far too many atrocities to mend his relationship with Roman Dimitri now. This would have been easier if he had never found out the truth. If he could have continued to think of him as just some high-level martial artist whose name he might have vaguely known in his past life, Aleksandr wouldn't have been so pathetically swayed by his emotions. His lower lip trembled. Then, with difficulty, he spoke. "It's already too late, isn't it?" At that moment. Flash. Roman Dimitri cut off Aleksandr's head. Aleksandr's body was dead, but his mind was still alive. Because a part of his soul belonged to the Demon King, Aleksandr, in spectral form, awoke in the Devildom and rushed off to find him. "My king, please, save me," Aleksandr begged. "There's a reason for this defeat. If you give me one last chance, I can explain what happened and devise a new strategy." The moment he died, he came to terms with reality. The divine demon, Jung-Hik Baek, had become Roman Dimitri, and their relationship was already damaged beyond repair, regardless of how much he reached out. That was likely why Roman Dimitri had beheaded him without hesitation. It was a clear message that he would never accept Aleksandr, and Aleksandr, coming to his senses, focused on what needed to be done. He still didn't have the confidence to face the divine demon. However, he had to survive, no matter what. His powerful will to live colored his every desperate word. But then... "Aleksandr. Do you know why I, a being far superior, made you, a mere human, my servant?" "I do not know." He looked up. The Demon King looked like a human. He always appeared before Aleksandr as one. His true form was likely different, but his hollow eyes and long, flowing black hair in this form had a strangely captivating quality to them. "The biggest reason is that you are capable of causing cracks in dimensions. Your existence alone intensifies dimensional rifts, and that alone made you worth using. But that wasn't enough for me to make you my servant. The reason I took you on was because of your low self-esteem, your inability to accept yourself." Aleksandr was an interesting man. By any ordinary person's measure, he had already reached a position worthy of admiration. Yet, thanks to his own humble, insignificant origins, he couldn't bring himself to believe that and was tormented by feelings of inferiority day after day. It piqued the Demon King's interest. When the Demon King extended his hand, Aleksandr, with a look of inadequacy in his eyes, had begged for him to solve all of his problems. It was a bit amusing. Seeing you grow even more anxious after I gave you what you wanted was quite a sight. However, he flashed a cold smile and rose from his throne. As he did so, darkness amassed at his feet, and a monstrous transformation began as he took his true form. The shadows twisted up and swallowed his human body, doubling, then tripling it in size. Horns sprouted from the giant's head, surrounded by a mane of black hair. As he stared up at those fiery red eyes glowing through the dark, Aleksandr felt an overwhelming pressure choking him. Your usefulness ends here. There is no more amusement to be had from you, and as Aleksandr, you have already significantly weakened the boundary between the Devildom and Earth. Even without you, the two dimensions will merge. Soon, the gateway to the Devildom will be fully open. It was nigh. The people of Salamander would soon witness as their world was plunged into darkness. And in that new world, the Demon King rumbled, there will be no place for you. With those parting words, Aleksandr's soul was plunged into the depths of the void, the place where souls went to be extinguished. As the soul demon slithered closer, Aleksandr curled up and let out a chuckle. Damn bastard. So you really are throwing me away in the end. He had known this would happen. Even as he dedicated his life to the Demon King, he had been under no illusions that he was all that important to him. He was merely a tool meant to induce dimensional rifts. Once he served his purpose, he knew there would be no reason for the Demon King to keep him alive. That was perhaps why he had clung to him even more desperately. All he'd ever wanted was to be acknowledged. But this was reality. When Aleksandr had come to him one last time, the Demon King had made no effort to hide the fact that he had been toying with him like nothing more than a plaything. Grr. The demons closed in, their red eyes flickering in the dark. Aleksandr curled up even tighter, unable to contain a burst of laughter. Demon King, you shouldn't have turned your back on me like this, he mumbled, despite the fact that there was no one around to hear him. I placed a spell on my mind to ensure that, if you chose to abandon and kill me, all of my memories would vanish at that moment, so you couldn't read them. Meaning that no one but me will know Roman Dimitri's true identity. With a manic look on his face, he stared out into the sea of red lights creeping ever closer. Roman Dimitri is someone even you, the king of the Devildom, cannot be sure you'll win against. He is a godlike being who has surpassed all human limits. Do you understand? Do you realize the mistake you've made? Although I will disappear from this world, you will regret what you are about to do in abandoning me. Just then. Kayak. Kia kayak. The demons pounced. Like shadows seeping in, they descended in a flock and tore into Aleksandr's body. Or rather, his soul. But despite the excruciating pain of being torn apart, Aleksandr laughed like a madman the entire time. He lost himself in his imagination, just like when he used to dream about ruling Murim. Unlike reality, where his spectral form was being ripped to pieces, in his imagination, Aleksandr was the divine demon, Junghik Bek. It was only a fantasy. But having seen the real thing, his daydreams were more vivid than ever. In this life, he'd been constantly tormented by a sense of inferiority. But now, having met the one man he couldn't help but bow to, he ironically felt free. Crunch. 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 The demons tore into him relentlessly. And with that, Emperor Aleksandr slowly, very slowly, descended into the abyss. Meanwhile, Cairo was in a festive mood. Unlike Kronos, they'd come out of this battle completely victorious. The people cheered for Roman Dimitri and their defeat of the Kronos Empire, celebrating their triumph. Emperor Aleksandr was dead. Roman Dimitri had won, and the people felt the war, which had pushed them to the brink, had changed tides. That afternoon, a meeting was convened. The key personnel in attendance all wore their joy proudly. Thanks to Roman Dimitri defeating Aleksandr, we were able to make quick work of the demoralized enemy. It was a decisive victory. Our casualties in this battle were minimal compared to the enemy, who were completely annihilated. We can't let this opportunity go to waste. That man was Emperor Aleksandr. The fact that a ghost of the past who should have died long ago was seen alive is clear evidence that the Kronos Empire has dabbled in dark magic. We must use this fact to pressure Kronos from here on out. If we expose their wrongdoings to the rest of the world, even the Valhalla Empire will lose its justification for supporting them in this fight. Not only was Aleksandr's very existence a testament to dark magic usage, but people had clearly witnessed him resurrecting the dead, and that was a serious crime that couldn't be overlooked. According to continental law, those who encroached upon the forbidden domain of necromancy were to be punished by the collective force of the entire continent. As stated, the second this news spread, the Valhalla Empire would lose any moral justification it had for participating in this war. One of Cairo's leaders spoke up. "That's right. If we are to negotiate a truce, we can gain the upper hand by exposing Aleksandr's immortality and the use of dark magic. Just give the order. We will immediately send a messenger to convey the will of the Kingdom Alliance." All of the leaders looked at Roman Dmitri. The decision was ultimately his. If he agreed, this war would come to an end. However, "No, we will continue fighting. Do you mean to see this through to the end?" The room broke out into surprised murmurs at his announcement that the war wasn't over yet. To face Kronos and Valhalla's remaining forces would mean to accept the possibility of significant casualties, and the suggestion that they press on was a hard one to swallow. Hadn't they already gained the upper hand? If they leveraged their advantage and negotiated skillfully enough, they could shackle the giant that was Kronos and secure a peaceful future. It was the easiest path. There was no need to take the difficult one. "Whether Kronos used dark magic or not is not relevant," said Roman Dmitri. "We have long had a vague idea of the secrets Kronos was hiding. The events in Hector alone gave us more than enough evidence to condemn them. But we lacked the power needed to defy them, so even though they committed all sorts of atrocities, we were unable to expose the truth. The situation is different now, though," one woman pointed out. "If we apply pressure, even Kronos will have no choice but to raise the white flag." That may be true, but that alone is not enough to make up for the damage caused by this war. Many people have already died, and to prevent such a thing from happening again in the future, we need a more decisive response. At that moment, people's expressions shifted. A strange tension filled the room. "Therefore," said Roman, "I intend to use this opportunity to bring down both Kronos and Valhalla and conquer the continent of Salamander." Conquer the continent. Chills ran down their spines. That was an idea an ordinary person would never even dare to come up with. Every other leader in the meeting room was dumbstruck.